So this next segment is something I was just chomping at the bit to get to. And the video you are about to hear is one of the most absurd things I have ever... Well, to be fair, it's not like I haven't heard it before, but I thought we were past it, and clearly we're not. But again, I don't know why I get so surprised, but again, it's one of the most absurd things I've ever heard, and it's just another pathetic smear against Bernie Sanders. But you won't be surprised to see hear this, because it's honestly something that we've come to expect among the progressive community, among the progressive Bernie supporters and people that are out there fighting for real issues, as I've been talking about on several segments today. But check out this segment from MSNBC. This was one of their morning shows, and this woman, her name is, I think it's Emily Tisch Sussman or something. And so this woman appeared on MSNBC, and she made some ridiculous remarks about Bernie Sanders. And then let's just check this out, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Emily, one of the things that's also striking to me about this most recent poll out of Iowa, Bernie Sanders, has Bernie Sanders, has he peaked?
It does feel that way. It feels like Warren is pulling together a coalition of people, particularly women, and also people of color who liked Hillary Clinton. I think in all of our talking, like our talking head, we act like there's nobody who actually liked her. There are, in fact, people that liked her. And so she is in many ways pulling a lot of that support, but also pulling a lot from Sanders. And Sanders is still in the race. What we're seeing of his supporters is there's a ceiling. There is nowhere to go, but there is no up to go. And all of those support, I actually overheard someone saying that I thought was an interesting point, that basically at this point, if you are still supporting Sanders as opposed to Warren, it's kind of showing your sexism, because she has more detailed plans and her plans have evolved. I thought it was an interesting point, and I think there may be something to it.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
It's a good answer, Chris.
Yeah, it is. It keeps me safe. But I'll tell you, the one thing is you can only be an insurgent once. And Sanders is trying to be an insurgent twice. And the whole shtick of yelling a lot and cussing a lot. I mean, O'Rourke's kind of got the cussing lane now. He's still got the angry lane, the angry old grandpa lane. But let's face it, there's only so much time at Thanksgiving you want to spend around that angry relative that keeps yelling at you. And I think that his time may have come.
When has Bernie Sanders ever cursed? I don't even remember the last time Bernie Sanders cursed, but I don't know, that's besides the point. That other guy that was talking was I think a former Ted Cruz supporter, or Marco Rubio supporter, something like that. But who's surprised by that? What that woman said? What an idiot! She goes out there and says, "Oh well, if you're still supporting Bernie Sanders over Elizabeth Warren, that kind of shows your sexism." And then she puts out this smile like. And then she laughs, and then the host, just like the same segment, the same time that this other woman, Mimi Rocha, she smeared Bernie Sanders and says, "Oh, Bernie Sanders makes my skin crawl." The same time, the host didn't say shit. The difference here is the host laughed at her and says, "Yeah, that's a good answer. That's a good answer." Like this fucking idiot, MSM hosts and pundits. Yucking it up and smearing Bernie Sanders like that, smearing progressive like that is so pathetic. So anyway, to detail or to respond to a couple of the arguments this woman is making. First of all, she says that Bernie Sanders is losing. The support of the support of Hillary voters from 2016 going to Elizabeth Warren, that's not wrong. I do actually believe that is happening because Elizabeth Warren endorsed Hillary Clinton, and a lot of the people that are in the identity politics bandwagon, they're going in favor of Elizabeth Warren because they want a woman, and they would have gone with Kamala Harris. They would have gone with Amy Klobuchar. I'm going to detail that a little bit, something similar to that a little bit later. But they're going, they say that kind of stuff. They would have pretty much supported anybody that was a woman. And just so it happens that Elizabeth Warren is the woman that these people want to invest into, I guess. But this woman says, so the part about Hillary is right, getting the Hillary reports. But then she goes on to say that Elizabeth Warren is attracting the people of color voters that Hillary Clinton got in 2016. Now again, the Hillary voters she has, but she is not getting people of color, so, African American, Latino, she's not getting those voters. Elizabeth Warren's support among, I believe, just the black community alone is currently 29%. 29%. That means at least 70%, 71%, or maybe at the most 71% of people, because it could be a little bit lower. People maybe are like, I don't know, I do support her or I don't support her. They're kind of, undecided. And then the rest just, don't support her. But at the most 71% don't support her of the black community. But that's the support she has among the black community, 29%. And you're telling me that that Elizabeth Warren is getting support among the black community, and Bernie Sanders is not, and there's no ceiling for Bernie Sanders. He's not going up. He just got 1 million donors. He just got 1 million unique donors. You're telling him he's not going up and there's no ceiling? What the fuck are you talking about? And then obviously the most egregious part, she says, yeah, if you're if you still support Bernie Sanders and not Elizabeth Warren, that obviously makes you sexist. And then she gives this like annoying smile, like, yeah, look, and then she laughs with these two assholes here. Like, this talking point is not going to work. And these people, again, either they're living, again, which they do, but they're either living in their own bubble where they think this stuff resonates and it makes sense, or they're just trolling us and they're just trying to get us pissed off, and they're just trying to say things to rile up supporters of Bernie Sanders. It's possible it could be both. I don't know. But there's no fucking way this person is saying this and it's resonating with majority of Americans. It's resonating with a bunch of the Hillary diehards from 2016 and a bunch of the people that just are obsessed with identity politics and getting a woman as president. That's it. Those are the only people that this resonates with, and people like this are like, oh yeah, totally. Nobody else agrees with this shit. And this was the reality of this. The reality of this couldn't have been more obvious. So there was a Common Dreams. So Common Dreams is a great publication, progressive publication, and they wrote an article titled MSNBC pundit who accused those who prefer Sanders to Warren of sexism sparks viral outcry from #women for Bernie. So the Bernie supporters, as usual, responded in a wonderful way, just like they did with the Mimi Rocha incident where she said Bernie Sanders makes my skin crawl and he doesn't support women or whatever. And so similar to that, there was a big outcry that came out where people, they got rightfully pissed off and they said, yeah, what the fuck is this about? How dare you say that? So there was a bunch of tweets sent out, and then further, well, I'll let you know what the #Women for Bernie was about. But so, for example, one of the first tweets that they highlight, or the first tweet that they highlight in this Common Dreams article is from one of Bernie Sanders' biggest supporter, who is a woman and is a woman of color, Nina Turner. And she says, I'm truly trying to wrap my mind around this foolishness, referring to that specific part where Emily Sussman says that, if you still support Bernie Sanders over Elizabeth Warren, that's kind of showing your sexism. So she says, I'm truly trying to wrap my mind around this foolishness. And then Brianna Joy Gray, which is at Bree Joy. She's the press secretary for Bernie Sanders. She says, I don't know who needs to hear this, but sexism and racism are too real and too important to be weaponized for political gain. Amen. And then the next one is from Ailey Valila, which is, I believe she ran, hold on one second. She's the Nevada co-chair of Bernie Sanders' campaign. And I believe, she ran in Nevada against somebody. I think she ran for Congress, Nevada Congress. a member of Congress for Nevada. She ran for that seat, and then I think she ended up losing in 2018, I believe. But she's still an advocate for Bernie. She says, not here to be vote shamed by the 1%. I am supporting the only candidate who will always put the needs of people first. Hashtag Medicare for all. Hashtag Green New Deal. Hashtag cancel student loan debt. Hashtag housing for all. The list goes on, and he literally writes the damn bills. Hashtag Bernie 2020. So Emily T. Sussman, just so you guys know, is not only a super rich person, her daddy is a super rich person, but she, surprise, surprise, used to be the VP of the Center for American Progress, which is the same organization that is owned, or not owned, but run by a bunch of former Clinton operatives, including Neera Tanden. John Podesta founded it, but Neera Tanden runs it and everything. Neera Tanden is a huge anti-Bernie advocate or whatever. So this person having this opinion about Bernie Sanders is not surprising at all. And she's, like I said, she's super rich. Her daddy is super rich. He's some sort of like Democratic donor himself. And then, she's, I don't know, he owns some yachts and he owns like mansions and shit all over the place. And then she's, obviously, I mean, she comes from that elitist type class because her daddy is part of that same kind of, group, part of that same cocktail circuit, essentially. So obviously her elitism is showing here. And so in response to this, like I said before, there was a Women for Bernie hashtag that was started. So Nina Turner, once again, comes out and says calling, and then in parenthesis tweeting, hashtag Women for Bernie, where you at? Share your stories of why you support at Bernie Sanders, hashtag Bernie 2020, hashtag Saturday Thoughts. And then the first person says, I'm a 66-year-old woman with a cardiac condition. Rent alone is equal to my Social Security check, living off my savings and terrified that even with Medicare, a medical emergency will bankrupt me. I see plenty of others who are even worse off than me. Hashtag Women for Bernie, hashtag Bernie 2020. And these are all in response to Nina Turner's tweet. Let's see. It says, I'm a woman for Bernie. Hashtag, I'm a hashtag Women for Bernie because I believe in fighting for Medicare for all, education for all, a Green New Deal, and a living wage. We have enough politicians. I can't wait for an activist, leader, and public servant to be our president. Hashtag, and then they added Nina Turner. They added Bernie Sanders, and then hashtag Bernie 2020. And then the final one is look at all the Bernie Sanders sexist supporters, hashtag Women for Bernie, hashtag Feminists for Bernie. And then it shows a picture of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, at least 15 or 16, 17 young women of all different skin colors, hair colors, all different ethnicities supporting Bernie Sanders, all different ages. So all the people that claim Bernie Sanders' movement is just full of Bernie bros, you are completely misinformed, and you just, again, like I said before, you just hate Bernie Sanders because he happens to be a white man that has an ideology that is not only progressive, but that he also has supporters that are fully backing him and are willing to go to bat for him as much as possible. You can't stand that about the Bernie Sanders movement. You are jealous of the Bernie Sanders movement. You are jealous of the fact that he has feminist supporters and female supporters. Remember, notoriously, Gloria Steinem went on I believe it was Bill Maher's show, and said, and this is back in, I think, 2015, so even before the 2016 primary. In 2015, she went on Bill Maher's show and said the only supporters that are women, the only reason that that the women support Bernie, or like young women support Bernie Sanders, is because they're trying to look for young men to fuck. She literally said that. They're looking for young men to like get with and to hook up with. That was the mentality of Gloria Steinem, who's not only a feminist, but actually, I believe it was her group or something that said, it was back in the 90s, I think, that said, it was like late 90s, where they inducted Bernie Sanders into like the woman for life or something, or he's a feminist for life, or a woman for life, or honorary woman or something, some shit like that. And Gloria Steinem goes out and says, yeah, all the women that support Bernie Sanders, they just want to fuck men. That's the only reason that they support Bernie. So listen, man, people that are like this, you just can't reason with them because there's something wrong in their head. There's something wrong going on in their heads, and they clearly can't think straight because they're too stuck on, hating Bernie Sanders for all the wrong reasons, and they're too stuck on trying to find ways to essentially, like, they want to marginalize the female support that Bernie Sanders has. And Bernie Sanders, but by the way, Bernie Sanders, as many of you know, Bernie Sanders is a big supporter of the feminist movement. He is a big supporter of women's rights. He is a big supporter of Planned Parenthood. He is a big supporter of being pro-choice, being in support of abortion, not letting the government control, which is ironic from all these right-wingers who hate the government, not letting the government control women's bodies and telling them what to do. Bernie Sanders is in support of the feminist movement. He is in support of women, and the women that support him know this, and they also support him for the fact that he's pushing for policies that are overwhelmingly going to support women. So they're going to support the policies like Medicare for All, which will support women. They support canceling student loan debt and just in general free college for everybody. Overwhelmingly helps women. They support housing for all. Overwhelmingly supports women, especially women of color, who especially if they're single moms and they want to live in a house instead of living on the streets. Bernie Sanders wants to have housing for all. So Bernie Sanders he's a proponent of the feminist movement. He is a proponent of women. He's a proponent of great policies that all people can support, not just women, not just men, not just LGBTQ people, not just Latinos. Everybody supports these policies. It's a universal policy that people in other countries would be like, yeah, of course people should support. You ask anybody in Scandinavia, you ask anybody in Europe, you ask anybody in Denmark, Sweden, Iceland, Poland, all these different countries, people are like, yeah, that totally makes sense. Why shouldn't anybody support giving universal health care? Why shouldn't anybody support, free college? Why shouldn't anybody support, housing and a jobs guarantee? That's another thing that Bernie's supporting and pushing for. Ending the wars, not being involved in endless wars. This is totally like, it's stuff that to everybody is just like, yeah, it's duh. Like, obviously you should support it. So these idiots out there that just hate Bernie Sanders and, this idiot person, elitist woman, this bougie, white elitist woman talking about how Bernie Sanders supporters are sexist if they don't, fall in line and support, Elizabeth Warren, which is the same exact thing they said about Hillary Clinton, by the way, are completely delusional and out of their minds. And by the way, these are the same kind of people that attack those of us who, and I'm one of them, those of us who voted for Jill Stein, and those of us who supported Susan Sarandon when she said that, and people can disagree with it, but she said that electing Donald Trump will bring on the revolution because it's going to wake people up and make them realize that, yeah, we have serious fucking problems in this country and people are going to realize what the problems are. Whereas if you were to elect Hillary Clinton, you wouldn't realize the problems. You would think everything is, unicorns and rainbows and every life is wonderful. And as the idiot Hillary supporters say, oh, we'd just be at brunch right now if Hillary Clinton was president. Get the fuck out of here, man. So my point is, when the people that supported Susan Sarandon, the people that supported Jill Stein, we supported women. We're supporting women. I voted for Jill Stein. I supported Susan Sarandon when she said that. So I'm supporting a woman. So how am I sexist if I'm supporting women in either what they say or the policies that they push for, as Jill Stein did? And Susan Sarandon was also supportive of Jill Stein, too. I'm supporting what these women are saying. I'm supporting with the policies that these women are pushing. But yet I'm a sexist? So how does that make any fucking sense? Because I don't want to support Elizabeth Warren, who was a Republican until she was like 50 years old, because she's a white woman, because she's a former corporate lawyer, because she went to Harvard University, she's Ivy League educated. So because I don't support that, somehow I'm a sexist? I don't care if she's a woman. I don't support any Ivy League educated politicians. I don't like that. That's why Bernie Sanders, I like him, because he's not Ivy League educated. He's not an elitist scumbag who's rich as fuck and he's got $1 million. Oh, great, wonderful, $1 million. You'd be lucky to find anybody being as having $1 million. I'm sorry, or at least being in the range of just having $1 million like Bernie Sanders does. Well, because all the other members of Congress and senators and politicians out there, they're rich as fuck. Like I said before, Barack Obama's rich as hell. He was He wasn't obviously even close to as rich before he became president. Once Obama became president, and he finished his presidency, he's a fucking multimillionaire. So all these politicians that are in Washington and are benefiting from the corrupt system, as Obama did, as Hillary Clinton did, as Donald Trump is doing right now at this moment, these people are all rich as fuck. They don't give a shit about regular people. They pretend to, but they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about what regular people are going through. They just want to use the people that are suffering as a political shield to show, oh, look how much I care. Look how much I care because they support me, because they're stupid enough to support me, when in reality they're not doing shit for those people to help them when they need them the most.